At least 10 speeches. All right. Thank you so much. And how many of you have given less than 10 speeches in Toastmasters? I can see 4 people. All right. Thank you so much. Over next 45 minutes, I'm going to share with you a process, a 6-step process that is going to help you write more speeches, write more powerful speeches, and finally, overall, become a more effective communicator and a speaker. How many of you would want that? Type want in the chat box or show me a thumbs up. Well, thank you. So the first time I joined Toastmasters, it was back in 2014. And the first time I joined Toastmasters, that's when I got to know that people can actually speak without looking at something. You know, before that, I couldn't speak without reading or without looking at something. And I think someone is on. Okay. So I want all of you to be on mute. If you want to say something, unmute yourself, say something and go back on mute. All right. So when I started speaking in Toastmasters, I understood that it is possible to speak without looking, without reading. And when I initially started writing my own speeches, I majorly faced 3 challenges. The first challenge was, how do I find more topics to talk about? Do you face this challenge of not able to understand what topic to talk about? I mean, it used to happen with me that I used to keep on thinking about the topic and weeks would pass. And before I knew, my speech slot was already there. So that used to happen with me. The second challenge I faced while in speeches was, how should I write speech? Is there a process? Is there a step-by-step process that can help me write more impactful, powerful speeches? That was the second challenge. And finally, the third challenge was, how do I make my speech more interesting? So how many of you face this challenge that you don't know how to make your speech more interesting? I can see some people. Lovely. So in this process, most of these challenges, you'll have a solution to most of these challenges, right? So, but before we begin, let me break some myths about speech writing. So in this session, we'll be covering majorly speech writing, and we'll not talk about delivery and stage usage. We'll only talk about speech writing. How can you write more impactful speeches, right? So let's break some myths about speech writing. The first myth is speech writing is tough. I'm sure I cannot see a lot of faces, but I'm sure some of you would be nodding your head right now. Because that's what I used to think when I had just started, when I had given less than 10 speeches, less than 5 speeches. I used to think that speech writing is very tough. But over a time, in last 4 or 5 years, I've given more than 50, 55 speeches just in Toastmasters. And while delivering all this process, I understood that it's like a skill. You know, the first time when you go out and start driving, initially you find it difficult. You try to understand when should I press the clutch, when should I change the gear, what should I do? Everything feels so overwhelming, right? But when you keep on doing it over and over and over and over and over again, it slowly becomes easy for you, right? Similar is with speech writing. When you just start, it looks very overwhelming, very difficult. But with practice, it becomes easy. So the first myth that we've broken is that speech writing is not tough. Speech writing is a skill that can be learned with right guidance and right practice. All right, let's talk about the second myth for today. Second myth is, my last speech was better than this speech. Now, show me a thumbs up if you have ever felt this, that your earlier speech or some other speech was better than this particular speech. Show me a thumbs up. Now, this is something that used to happen with me a lot. I remember in 2019 when I went up to the district level international speech contest, that particular speech, I had this particular problem that every time I started preparing for a speech for my home club, I felt no, that speech was better. And I always felt that the speech I'm writing right now is not good enough. I'm sure some of you would feel that when you start writing your speech. But if you look at it logically, speeches that are given at contests are practiced multiple times. My international speech contest that I delivered, speech that I delivered at district was the 19th version of that speech. I had practiced it 25, 30 times. And after so many versions, that's when it became really good. But if you look at any normal speech, you hardly prepare it 30 times, right? You don't do it. So it's futile to compare it with any other speech, especially in the contest. I've seen a lot of people who come up to me and said, I heard that world championship speech, but my speech is not good enough. It's ought to be, because those championship speeches are practiced so many times, they've been revised so many times. Those speakers must have delivered that speech at least 40 times in different clubs, and that's when they've reached the world championship stage, right? So the second myth I want to break today is that my last speech was not better than this speech. Every speech is a good speech, right? Write that down. I want you to write that down. Every speech is a good speech. And the reason this is very important to understand this is because even before you start writing speeches, this is the kind of mindset I want all of you guys to be, right? The third myth I want you to remember is I need to start delivering world-class speeches from day one. Really? Now, I have had some people, some mentees of mine who used to come and used to be very critical of their own speeches, that it's not good, it's not bad. And what I usually tell them is, at this point, you just need to give speeches. Do not overthink content. Now, what really happens when we just enter Toastmasters, we're given 3, 4, 5 speeches, we want to make every speech as a world championship speech, right? Does this happen with you too? There's a problem when you can't see faces. You just don't know whether people are with you or not. But I'll try my best to. I have my faith on you that all of you guys are listening. All right. It feels as if I'm talking to a machine, but that's okay, right? So the third truth that I want you to remember is that you don't have to be. The speech doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be a world-class speech, especially if you're new. Now, when new members join in, we usually tell them to give more speeches. If you're someone who is somewhere in 5 to 10 speeches, the first target should be to give 10 speeches. And as you keep on doing it over and over again, you develop your own process, your own style of writing speech, right? So if you're new, someone who has given very less speeches, the first target should be to deliver 10 speeches. No if, no but, no overthinking content, right? So the 3 things that you need to remember even before you get into speech writing. First is that speech writing is a skill. It's not tough. It just gets better with time. The first speech you write will always be more difficult than the 10th speech that you write. Okay. Second thing, every speech is a good speech. Do not compare your speech with other people. Do not compare your speech with the previous speeches that you have delivered. Just don't compare your speeches. Every speech is a good speech. And finally, the third thing that I want you to remember is give yourself permission to screw up, so that we break this habit of perfectionism that we have when writing speeches. I remember when I just started writing speeches, I used to write the first paragraph of my speech and then I used to delete it. Then go back again, write that, make few changes. And this process used to go for weeks. And as a result, I couldn't even write speeches. But as soon as I understood that it's okay, I just need to deliver more speeches, I started delivering more speeches, right? Now let's come to the step number 1 of writing speeches. Okay. The step number 1 is know your audience. All right. So can someone tell me, what does this mean? Yes, Shri.
It's basically to know more about your audience in front of whom you're delivering, so that you can just present your speech in a way. Like if you're delivering in a professional environment, your speech should be more professional rather than the humorous one or something like that.
All right. Perfect. Anyone else who would like to share?
I think we should know why they are sitting, what they're expecting from us. Unless there's a message for each one of them, I think it will be difficult to get their attention.
Right. So Dharmesh has raised his hand.
Yeah. What I understand is that by knowing the audience, it helps you to connect well, and it
Mhm.
helps you to deliver the stuff that they want to listen.
Right. Perfect. So step number one is know your audience. Now, what does this mean? Now, imagine if I'm talking to a bunch of kids who are 10, 12 years old. The stories I'm going to use are going to be something that are relatable to them. I might talk about Avengers. Imagine I'm talking to a bunch of people who are 60-year-olds. I would change those stories, talk about something that they would relate to more. Maybe Bhagwan, you never know, right? So knowing your audience helps you find the right content that they will find relatable. Okay, so what are some questions that should be asked before, even before you go up and prepare for a speech? Some questions that I ask myself: what is the age group of the audience? What is their professional background? What is their culture, ethnicity they belong to? So if you listen to my sessions when I'm talking to corporates, they would be it would be a little different than when I'm talking at Toastmasters. If I'm talking at a college club, I will integrate stories from my college life more. If I'm talking to a club that's a corporate club, I will talk about my life from IT job, right? Something that they can relate to, right? So it's very important to understand that who am I going to talk to. So step number one is know your audience. Let's come to step number two. So step number two is purpose and message. Purpose and message. Now, every speech on the planet falls into one of the four categories. Can someone tell me what are the four categories? Has anyone gone through something called as CC3? All right.
I think
So,
one is, can I, sorry,
yes, Vikas, please.
informational speech or
Right,
persuasive speech,
right,
or there is so motivational speech.
right. Okay. Anyone else?
Humorous speech.
Yes, Shri, humorous speech. So the four.
Storytelling?
Okay. Anyone else? Different types of speeches. Since people are coming and going, I think some of
There
you
could
might have
be
missed.
there
Yeah.
could be a sorry, yeah. Hi, Sudha here.
Yes.
There could be a persuasive or an impactful speech, impacting somebody on like you definitely see a lot of these religious people when they give those kind of speeches where you're impacting them on certain things where they take a decision. And the other one is, of course, persuasive speech when you are probably doing a sales pitch, something like that.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for your answer, Sudha. So there are basically four types of speeches. Now, any speech on the planet falls in one of the four categories. You speak either to inform, or to entertain, or to inspire, or to persuade. Right? I'll repeat that for you. Either to inform, or to entertain, or to inspire, or to persuade. Pick up any speech on the planet, it falls in one of the four categories. Now, why is this important to understand? Once I've understood who am I going to talk to, for example, I'm talking to a bunch of college kids, or I'm at a Toastmasters club that's a college club. Okay, I've understood that this is a college club, this is the kind of students I'm going to talk to. Second thing I want to understand, what do I want to do with them? Do I want to entertain them? Do I want to persuade them for an idea? Do I want to inspire them? Or do I have to inform them about something? What a lot of mistakes that we do is we just start writing a speech without any idea. It's like starting from your home and just going out without knowing where you want to go, right? If you start from one place without knowing where you want to go, will you reach there? You'll reach somewhere, but it will not be exactly where you want to go, right? So that's the reason we, even before we start writing the speech, we know what we want to do with the audience. Now imagine you decided that I want to inspire them. What's the next step? The second thing is the message. Now, how many of you decide a message after you have written a speech? Show me a thumbs up. Let's have some honest answers. I can say Akshay, I can see Vrinda, Jyoti, Nidhi, a lot of us. So the approach that I personally use is first again decide the message. Where is it that I want to go? And then start writing. Now let's understand in these two steps what all is clear. I know who I'm speaking to. I know what I want to do with them. And third, what message I want to convey. Imagine the message I want to convey is never give up. Now I can go to the third step, which is finding content. So step number 3 is finding the right content. So I'm talking to a bunch of students. I want to inspire them, and the message I want to give is never give up. So can someone tell me how can you do this now? How to find content for it?
Find the incidents from your own experience where you haven't given up.
Superb, Vrinda. Anyone else?
I was going to say the same because storytelling connects you more to the audience rather than some fictional stories.
Perfect, perfect. Right? So you understood how to find content. Probably go back in your own life, find stories, take up someone else's story. So basically there are 3 kinds of stories that you can talk about. And since Shri has mentioned this storytelling part, let me tell you a few facts about storytelling. So in the University of Princeton, a research was done. What they did is they made 2 people sit in a room where one person was telling stories and the other person was listening. Now, what they found out is that one person was telling stories that were relatable from personal life. Both MRI scans of the brain were matching. There's certain areas of their brain just lit up. It was as if both the brains were in sync. They called it coupling. They called it coupling. So this happens because, for millions of years, human beings lived in tribes of hunters and gatherers. And while living in such an environment, every night they used to sit around fire, share food, and tell stories to each other. And we have lived with stories, we've evolved with stories. And that's the reason human mind has an entirely different impact of stories. Okay? So that's the reason storytelling is powerful. So step number 3 was finding content. Now there are 3 kinds of stories that you can talk about. First is a personal story. Something from my life, any challenges I faced, any difficulties I overcame, something exciting I did last week. It could be my journey of an entire life, anything, right? Personal story. You know what a personal story is from my own experience. Second kind of story that you can talk about is stories of other people, right? We often hear stories of other people. So many YouTube videos actually talk about what Bill Gates did, what Steve Jobs did, what other people did, right? That's the second kind of stories that we can always talk about. Finally, the third stories are of stories of brands. Stories of brands. The rise and fall of Nokia, or how Apple became one of the biggest companies on the planet. Any kind of brand stories. So 3 kind of stories that you can talk about, right? Apart from that, if you're delivering an informational speech, of course, there would be certain research. So this is the third step where you find out that research or find stories. Now, till now, you have not started writing your speech, right? You just understood your audience. You found out what you want to do with them, what message you want to deliver, and you understood what stories or research or information you want to convey. Now comes the 4th step, right? So till now, we have not written our speech, but now we will. In the 4th step, I personally use my mobile phone. How? I turn on the record button and I start speaking with all the information I have, with everything that I have. So I don't go and write, I just start recording. Something happens when you just go impromptu. Sometimes things come to your mind that do not come to you when you're thinking consciously, sitting and writing. Have you ever felt that best of your ideas come when you're either taking a bath or walking in the garden, something like that, right? So that's the reason what I personally do is I just take my phone, start recording, and everything that I have gathered about the speech, I just go and record it in one shot. And then I go and write that on a paper. So how it benefits me is I don't have to start from scratch. So a lot of you might find it difficult. Do you find it difficult to start something from scratch, writing a speech from zero? Do you find it difficult?
Yes.
Sometimes, yes. So this technique will definitely help you so that you don't have to go and write everything from start. You already have one draft ready. Okay. Now tell me if this happens with you, because this used to happen with me. When I started writing speech, I wanted to have opening so punchy that just to think that opening, it used to take me days or weeks. And because of that reason, I could not even get started.
So true.
Right? Right? I hope it happens with most of you, because it happens with most of us speakers. So when you wrote this down, now you go and check the fifth step, where fifth step is called speech organization. Now you think about an opening. Now you think about closing. Now you think about the transitions. Right? Does that make sense? So can someone tell me what are some good openings to a speech?
Question. I
Question?
remember. Yeah.
I remember.
Question.
Priyanka
I
has raised her
remember.
hand.
That is one thing common between you and me.
Yes, a quote or a question.
Quote a question. So I would request you to kindly raise your hand, and when I take your name, only then you start, so that it's easy for me to understand who's speaking. Okay. So we'll hear from Vrinda.
Storytelling, that's my favorite.
Storytelling is a good way to start. Superb. We have Libby.
A joke.
A joke. We have Dharmesh.
So either I start with a joke or I connect to the last speaker.
Sounds good. We have Shri.
I basically do by asking a question so that it's in a loop. At the end, I answer the question itself. So it's a loop of the
Perfect.
question. And second one is doing something extraordinary. It could be like singing, or it should be like streaming at the end, so that something extraordinary does, and you get all the attention of the people in front of you.
Perfect. So all of you are right. There is no one fixed way to do it. There are many ways to do it, and it's open to creativity. But the point is that your opening should grab the attention. As long as, if required, you sing, you dance, you do anything, it should grab the attention of the audience. As long as you can grab the attention of the audience, doesn't matter what you do. Whether you ask a question, sing a song, put a quotation, do anything. Okay, because if you grab their attention in the starting, it becomes a little easier to hold that attention. Okay. So can someone tell me what are some good closings to a speech?
Could you please repeat that?
What are good closings to a speech? Good conclusion to a speech?
A to B.
Okay. Yes. Pavan, right?
Yes, A to B.
A to B? What A to B?
Means exactly, for example, your question, your speech title is speech, how to draft a speech, a good speech. So you can start like this. How many of you want to draft a good speech? Okay, then just you give the solution A to B in your opening and end with the same things. So these are the steps I followed.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, like that. That is what the A to B.
All right. Thank you, Pavan. Let's hear from Libby.
Thank you.
If telling the moral of the story, basically.
I think we cannot hear you. Your voice is breaking.
Can I say, if it is a persuasive, then the ending should be called to action. The message should go so strongly that people should get motivated for taking call to action.
Perfect answer, Jyoti. So let's hear from Priyanka.
Circling back to the topic of your speech.
Completing the circle. Perfect. Nidhi.
Okay, I feel it would still be the same things as the ones which would go for starting the speech. It could end with still a question, a motivating question. It could end with a quote, or things of those things.
Very good. So all of you are right in your own way. There is no fixed way to do it. Some good suggestions are either a call to action or completing the circle, ending it on a powerful note, anything, right? But the point again is that closing has to be impactful. Because when closing is impactful, people remember. What is it that people remember more about the speeches? It's the opening and the end. Okay, so it's in step 5 that you do, right? So let me go back and complete everything. First thing what we did was we understood our audience, then we understood our message and purpose. Then number 3 was understanding the content, research and stories. Number 4 is when I use audio to text or record my speech and write it down. And then I go and organize my speech, right? Now, can someone tell me what are different ways to organize a speech? Is there any particular way that you can use to organize your speech? Yes, Pawan.
Yeah, we can use 3 containers. Like first is your story, personal story. Second, we can use figures or data. Okay, and third is your research.
Okay. All right, Pawan. Anyone else? So I'm going to share with you 6 ways you can organize your speech. Okay. So the first one, write that down. The first way to organize your speech is chronological. Now, what is a chronological speech? It is where you follow a certain timeline from morning to night, from my college to my marriage or something. You're following a timeline, a story that follows a timeline is a chronological speech. Any timeline that you follow from past to future. That's a chronological way of writing a speech. Second is spatial. Spatial is related to space. So when you write your speech, you remember spaces. For example, I'm talking about 3 countries I visited last year. Of course, not during the pandemic, it's an example, but I hope you got the point. Or it could be, so what I'm doing is I'm just remembering my speech through spaces, or 5 places to visit in Mumbai, or 5 fantastic leaders from around the world, Russia, India, US, whatever, right? So what you're doing is you're taking care of spaces. You're using spaces to map your speech. All right. Third way to organize your speech is a problem solution. Basically, you talk about a problem and then you give a solution. The problem we are facing right now is global warming. Right? The water levels are rising, blah, 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 all those things are happening. And then you give out a certain solution. That could be one way of organizing your speech. Right? Fourth way to organize your speech is topical. Topical means going from topic to topic. 3 things that can improve your LinkedIn profile. Number 1 is your content, and then you have some certain subtopics. So what you're doing is going from topic to topic. If you see, most of the presentations that we give in our offices are mostly topical. We go from topic to subtopics and then to another topic and then to subtopics. That's a topical way of organizing a speech. Okay. The next one is comparative. Now, comparative speech is something that is used by a lot of stand-up comedians. When you compare 2 things, life before marriage, life after marriage, life in college, life in job, life as an employee, life as an entrepreneur, or benefits of buying a Skoda, benefits of buying a Tata, something like that. Where you're organizing your speech entirely on the basis of comparison. And the 6th way to organize your speech is causal. Causal is based on cause and effect. Okay. Cause and effect means something is happening. So how it is different from problem solution. Problem solution is where you first talk about problem and then you give a solution. Causal is where you talk about something and then you cause about effect as a problem. So when I'm talking about global warming, problem and solution, and I'm giving a solution to it. In the causal approach, I would first be talking about certain things and then I'll be talking about the problem. Emissions are happening. That's the reason all of these things are taking us to the global warming. I hope this makes sense. It's not getting too confusing. Show me a thumbs up. From other people, you can use the virtual thumbs up. Perfect. So can someone summarize these 5 steps for me, right? So let me tell you the 6th step first. So the sixth step of writing a speech is you go and time your speech. So whatever you have written till now. So this is just writing a speech. We are going to the next step after this. Okay, so can summarize 6 steps for me of writing the speech. Yes, Toastmaster Shri.
As I've written down, that's why I took the initiative to like come
Alright.
forward. Okay, so step 1 was know your audience. It's basically to know more about your audience, what age group they lie in, and their professional background, etc.
Right.
Then step 2 was purpose and message. What is your purpose of the speech? Is it informative, inspiring, persuading, or entertaining? And
Right.
what message do you want to deliver to your audience? Third step was finding the right content, basically through your personal stories or stories of the other people or stories of other brands.
Right.
Step 4 was audio to text, as you call that, go impromptu, so that you can collect your thoughts. And step 5th was speech organization, which you give the 6 ways of speech organization: chronological order, spaces, problem solution, topical, comparative, and causal effect one.
Right.
Then step 6 was go and time your speech so that you get you're on time.
Perfect. Okay. Now I'll share my screen, and so these are, can you see my screen? Show me a thumbs up. These are the 6 steps that we discussed of writing a speech, and these are 6 ways of organizing your speech. Okay, now we'll do an activity. Okay, keep yourselves on mute. What I want you to do is read this loud. All of you, show me a thumbs up when you're done. Show me a thumbs up when you're done. Okay. All right. Now let's read this one loud. So can someone share the difference? What you felt? Priyanka is raising her hand.
The second one was easier to comprehend even while reading. And while speaking, it was easier to put in pauses and use voice modulation to express because it was broken down into small sentences.
Perfect. Anyone else? I can see Sudha.
Yeah, it just shows that the author of the content is clear in his thoughts, and he has formulated his intent of conveying whatever he wants to convey in a way that the person who's receiving it is also very clear in terms of what he's thinking. Yeah, basically clarity. Yeah,
Clarity, right? So if you could just understand that the second paragraph had smaller sentences, right? So because it had smaller sentences, it was easier to speak and it was easier to understand. Can we understand that smaller sentences prove to be a better bet when it comes to speaking or even writing, right? Do you agree? Show me a thumbs up. So after we've written our speech, so what we did, we used these 6 steps, wrote a first draft of the speech. Now, for those of you who have given very few speeches, I would tell you to go and just deliver speeches. Don't overthink at this point. Just go and give at least 4 or 5 speeches. What will happen is when you give these 4 or 5 speeches, it will give you confidence and momentum. And this momentum will take you through your entire Toastmasters curriculum. Okay. Now, for those of you who want to go into deeper, who want to make it even more interesting, the next part is for you. Now comes the speech editing. So I'll share my screen and share few things. So these are very few things. Since we have limited time, I'm sharing few things that can make your speech interesting. Right. The first part is storytelling. So first thing that you're going to go back and edit in your speech is the plot. Plot is how you are starting the speech. Now, I've seen a lot of people who just directly go and start telling the story without setting a plot. Do you remember those movies where they first set the entire thing? They tell that it was 2007. This thing happened. So you're telling an year, you're describing the environment, basically trying to create that visual effect for your audience. That's how you can create a better plot. Second thing is characters. A lot of people, what they do is in their speech, they take a name, but they never introduce who the character was. Or sometimes the character doesn't even have any relevance. I was talking to one of my coaches who I work with. In her speech, what she had written, she was introducing some character, Neha, that I was talking to Neha, and Neha told me to go and start a meditation practice. Now, the problem was this with this is every time you introduce a character into a speech, you have to take it a few steps further. You have to tell them who that person is. So what I suggested her is, if you're bringing this character Neha, to tell her Neha is someone I met 3 years ago, who's a fantastic friend, someone who I trust immensely. And while I was talking to her, she told me to go and start doing this meditation practice. So every time you introduce a character, give them a little description, 1-2 sentences, give a background who they are. Okay. Finally, the conflict. Now, this is the most important part of storytelling. Do you like those stories where nothing really happens? Or do you like those stories where there is some kind of conflict? Why do you like Avengers so much? Because you want Thanos to lose. Right? Why do you like such movies where some kind of conflict is there? Because stories, conflict creates curiosity. Write that down. Conflict creates curiosity. And this is what makes a story even more interesting. The fourth thing I want you to go and edit in your speech are the dialogues. Now, have you heard those speeches that are complete narration? Like third person is talking about certain events and speech started and ended. But if that speech has certain dialogues, I was talking to my friend and he said to me, Akshat, you have to be a little more careful now. Changing that voice, adding in that conversations, that drama, conversations going in my head. I was sitting right there and thinking, should I do it right now or should I not do it? So that adds to the drama, that adds to the interest. So a good speech has narration plus dialogues. You can say narration plus conversations. So going back and adding those conversations in your speech. And finally, the drama. So one of the speech I was recently evaluating, that guy did a very good thing. He was talking about certain conversation and then he laughed, gave an evil laugh. So that gave a little bit of drama. So I hope you all understand what drama is, right? So these 5 things will make your storytelling even more effective. The plot, actors, conflicts, dialogues, and drama. Now, what's the next thing that makes your speech interesting? These are rhetorical devices. So how can someone tell me what are rhetorical devices? I cannot. Yes. Anyone who would like to share what are rhetorical devices? I see something in you, but I don't know what it is. So I'll talk about few rhetorical devices here that you can use. First is a rule of 3. Now I'm going to share 3. I'm going to tell 3 sentences. You tell me which is which captures your attention more. I went to this journey and it was fun. I went to this journey, it was fun and exciting. I went to this journey, it was fun, exciting, and thrilling. So can someone tell me which one was more impactful out of these 3?
Power of 3.
Power of 3, or rule of 3, right?
Yeah, last one.
Third one was more impactful because human mind likes 3. I don't know what it is. Even I've seen some of the best coaches and trainers and speakers in the world. Everybody uses power of 3. So if you see, when I started my speech, I told you 3 challenges I faced while writing speeches. I talked about 3 things. These 3 things will help you become a better speaker in the starting. Or So basically 3 is everywhere. Okay, so 3 is a good number when it comes to speaking, using the rule of 3. Second way you can use is alliterations. No matter where you are, Bhopal, Bombay, Bangalore, or Banaras, I'm going to find you. So B, the first sound. So go and read about it. I'm not a literature teacher, but you understand what alliteration is. When the first initial syllable of continuous words, or I would say words that are near to each other, is starting sound is same. It's alliteration.
Comparisons of two objects. Comparison without the use of word like or as.
Perfect.
Direct comparison.
Direct comparison. Communication and leadership are 2 branches of the same tree. We are comparing 2 different things as if they are the same. So can someone tell me what is the difference between a metaphor and a simile?
In a metaphor, there is no like or as used.
Perfect. In a simile, you would be using like or as smooth as a Skoda engine, or as quiet as a mouse, something like that. That's a simile. Okay, so this is something you have to go and read. Okay, analogies and anaphora. These are some rhetorical devices that you can use. Go and check about anaphora, analogies, all these rhetorical devices. These things make your speech even more interesting. Now, the problem comes when you try to add all of this when you just start writing your speech. Imagine if you want to add all of this in the first paragraph itself. Perfectionism will hit you and you'll not even get off. You will not be able to start your speech. Does that happen with some of you? You stop yourself because of perfectionism. Add these things at the end when you're editing, not when you just start writing. And then final thing that makes your speech interesting is humor. So there are 12 different ways you can use to integrate humor, but that's a session for another day. Right? So that brings me to the end of the slide. Any questions I am open to take regarding speech writing. We're not covering the delivery part or the body language or stage usage part, only the speech writing part.
Okay, I'd like to go. So I accept, first of all, a very wonderful session so far. And I wanted to know more about analogies and anaphora, like just sum it up.
That's your homework. So anaphora is when certain phrases are repeated in the starting of sentences, consecutive sentences. For example, we will win because we are strong. We will win because we are together. We will win because we have the experience. So you see how I'm repeating we will win, we will win, we will win before. That's anaphora. Check out a speech called I Have a Dream by Martin Luther King. He has used it pretty well there. That's anaphora. Analogies is again a comparison. It's like if you compare ships to human life, ships are not meant for the shores. They are meant to be free, something like that. So I just compared it to life in a way you can understand. Right? So these are analogies. I want you to go and so there's a very subtle difference between metaphors, similes, analogies. Which is something when you use it often you will understand. Go and research about it. Very easy, like you'll find it on Google very easy. I hope I answered the question.
Yes, you did.
Last we learned this in part of speech in 9th or 10th somewhat. I don't remember
Right.
last when I learned all these things.
I think
Okay.
Raval is raising his hand.
Yes,
Can you
Raval.
unmute yourself?
Thank you so much. First of all, thank you so much, Akshat. It's a wonderful session. My question is, I have just joined Toastmaster on 1st this month, and definitely I'm going to give my icebreaker. So my question is that what to find out the story and how to write it down. I know that opening, closing, and body, right? 3 containers, total 5. But exactly how to jot it down?
Like
How
I
to
told,
find out the story?
take your phone, take your phone, hit the record button, and start speaking since the day you were born. Right? Say everything. Make it a 20-minute speech. That's okay. Then you come back, write it down, remove what is not necessary. Keep only the effective parts. I'll give you one more technique. You can talk about 3 defining moments of your life. 3 moments that make you who you are. So it's very open. It's your own life story. What do you want to find out?
Well, I have written down many titles,
Mhm.
and now I'm thinking on it. So exactly as you told that, and I have also learned it before. That definitely there 3 years must be there, right? Like your setup, struggle, and success. Then only you can give it better. So that how to arrange it and what to do and what not to do, literally very
So
confused.
let's talk about icebreaker. Icebreaker will be a chronological way of organizing your speech. Okay, what message are you trying to give? What message are you planning to deliver? Have you decided a message yet?
Yeah, that's what I told you. So there are many messages. First is
decide one message. First thing is decide one message, not many messages. One message. 7-minute speech. If you give 7 messages, people will be बोलना क्या चाहते हो? Right? People will get confused.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, what I wanted to tell you that in our life we have lots of events. So on the basis of events, we can take at least one message.
Right.
So already I have many messages. Like first is dear, kill your fear, or your fear will kill you, dear. Okay. So this is the point where exactly I'm gonna give the speech. Okay. So in a chronicle order, I have to set up 3 stories. But
you can set up 1, 2, 3, as many as you want.
That
There's no rule to it.
So from my birth or my childhood, or just after my marriage, or just after my starting my profession, to
up
these
to you.
days.
Up to you.
Okay.
Right. Don't overthink. Just find a message. Find a story that derives that message. Write that message out of a story and deliver it. Don't overthink. It's your icebreaker. First 10 speeches you don't have to think. You just have to deliver. Okay. Don't think.
It means I can start from any point, right? After my marriage,
anywhere.
Or after starting my profession.
Absolutely.
With this point.
Yes.
Then it's okay.
It's okay.
Okay, I got it. Thank you so much.
All right. Any other questions?
I think one of the questions I had is, we have this interesting project, research and presentation, and this becomes a little bit different than regular speech. How to go about it, like how to at least get started. And sometimes people write too much about presentation, or sometimes they forget about research. So what all things we should consider? Can you shed some light on it?
Very good question, Monish. So every time it's about research and present. Now you're not telling just stories. You're also talking about a subject that is either that can be researched upon, of course. I remember when I gave the speech, I talked about virtual reality and how virtual reality is going to be our future, right? So the point is to take a subject that you're really passionate about, something that you really like, and then research about it. Find certain facts, put it there. Again, find any of the 5 ways. Most probably research goes from topic to topic. Most of the time, topical way of organizing your speech. Okay. First, decide a subject that you're really passionate about, what message you want to deliver, and then it's basically find certain facts or stories, arrange them, deliver. I'm not sure if I answered that question pretty well, but this is nothing different.
Yeah, so it helps. So I think, if I categorize into a topical theme that you gave, how to organize that speech, and I try to write it, I would be able to write it better next time, and I will try to do. So whenever, like a related question to this, whenever you try to write a speech, of course we write speech for our objective. You try to fit them into this categories, how you want to organize speech, and then you start writing, or you write and then you see this is a better way of doing it.
I decide how I want to organize this first, and then I start writing. I mean, first I record and just put it there, and then I try to organize it in certain way I want. But if it evolves while writing, I don't stop it there. So what I'm trying to say is that the process that I give you is not fixed way of doing it. This is something I developed for myself while I gave these many speeches. You can find your own process. You can take whatever is suit you. You can remove whatever doesn't suit you. Build your own process. Right?
Right. So I see Sudha has raised her hand. Go ahead, Sudha.
Yes, Toastmaster Sudha.
Yeah, thanks, Akshat. You have touched upon very true moments when we start writing speeches, and I think you've tried to address the challenges that we all face. Now, my question is a very general question, not really putting on the cap of a Toastmaster. So I really want to understand, because when we as Toastmasters try to deliver speeches, we are bound a little bit by the objectives of the speech.
Right.
Now, what I feel is, like, for instance, I did attend a meeting where I found the speaker gave such a fabulous speech, but that person was not really subscribing to the objectives. Now, what I feel is, my question to you is, does Toastmaster really limit your quest for writing good speeches? I mean, I know I'm asking this as just to try to see how you can be better, or should we just confine ourselves to the objectives of the speech and hope that by the end of completing your project, you turn out to be the person that you always wanted to be?
Right. Very genuine question, Sudha. I completely agree. I completely understand. However, let's understand that the objective of these speeches is to give you a purpose. Now, most people join Toastmasters to become better speakers. Now, a lot of us don't have any idea. In fact, most of us don't have any idea how to go about it. Now, every speech gives us a purpose, that in this speech, you have to do this. In this speech, you have to do this. And while you keep on hitting that objective of that particular speech, you keep learning certain concepts. So when you give 10, 15 speeches, you would have learned a lot of different concepts. Right? And when you try to come up with a speech that's your 16th or 17th speech, you exactly know how to touch your audience's heart. Right? I'm not sure if I was able to answer that question up to your expectation, but I would say that objective of Toastmasters speeches give you a purpose.
No, 100%. That's why we are all here. Absolutely. If we go through the objectives, I mean, the kind of experience that you really gain by giving different, like, panel discussions or research and presenting, body language, all these, I mean, amazing platform we have. But what I'm saying is, when we deliver a speech as per the objectives, we should be then just confining to what they want us to do, and then expect that by the end of the path, you will be getting your desired results. Because that's sometimes what is important. Because if you remove the objectives out and you think like a clean slate, would you get a better output? I don't know. I'm just trying to bring up
I got your point. So I'll tell you my experience. When I did the first, so I would say for me, CC, Competent Communicator, was an old program that Toastmasters had. It's no longer there. I found out CC was much more open to creativity than Pathways. But
absolutely, I agree with you. I was a CTM, by the way, a little older than yours.
but the problem there is, a lot of people, if you look at people who have not done a lot of public speaking, for them it becomes very difficult to come up with just anything. But when you put in Pathways, I think there are a lot of other things. Like, one speech you have to talk about your mentoring experience. One speech you have to research and present. So it gives you more content to talk about. And for a person who is just starting, I think Pathways is much more relevant than CC. But that's my personal opinion. Someone who is just starting, for them, it's important to understand what they want to do. So if you give them a certain thing that you have to talk about this, for them, coming out of that comfort zone and start speaking would be easier. Someone who is more experienced, they would want more freedom. They wouldn't want to stick themselves to objectives. They would want to talk about something entirely different. So you deliver a speech without any objectives, then just don't get any credit for that particular project. That's okay. I deliver speeches here and there. Sometimes when the speaker backs out, there's no one to speak. 10 minutes before they tell me there's no speaker, do something. I come and deliver any other speech.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I'm probably trying to find my balance here. Yeah.
You have to find the balance. You have to do both.
Yep.
You have to do both. You do pathways also and give speeches apart from that. What you can do is before you deliver a speech, you can tell your evaluator what you want to be evaluated upon. You can tell them that
I've done this kind of speech.
I'm not. You can tell them that I'm not delivering a speech from Pathways. I'm delivering a different speech. I want to be evaluated on vocal variety, body language, this. Something like that can be done as well.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. So we'll take one final question and then we'll end.
I think Shri has raised her hand.
Yes, Shri.
Firstly, thank you so much for organizing this. I had various key takeaways from your meeting, and I look forward to more such sessions. So the question was mainly how to select a subject for the speeches, because I mainly come across this question particularly. I don't decide easily that what subject on what topic my speech should be, because I'm currently like thinking about presenting my speech for past a few months, but I haven't just thought which topic should it be on. So how to think that thing, which topic should I choose or which subject?
You, like I said, you always decide a message, not a subject. I always decide the title of a speech at the end after I've written the entire speech. Find a message, accordingly find what helps you derive that message. If I tell you, treat that in your next speech, you have to deliver a message that life is full of ups and downs. Can you find a subject now? Can you find certain instances from your story? If you find a message, the subject becomes clear. Right? All right.
Sure. Thank you so much.
All right. So I hope this helped you gain some clarity into writing speeches. Now, what I want from you next is deliver a lot of speeches. If you're someone new who has given 4 or 5 speeches, I would say again, till 10 speeches, don't think. Just write here and there and deliver. Write here and there and deliver. Don't overthink content. After 10, 11 speeches, start focusing more on how could I make it better. Initials, that will give you more confidence and momentum. Right. I wish you all the best, and I'm sure I will see some of you in the upcoming contest.
Indeed. Thanks, Akshat, for that wonderful session. Before we officially close, I request everyone to switch on their videos so we can have a quick photo.
This one for us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Akshat. Nice speech.
Wait a minute. Thank you, everyone. We officially close the meeting now.
Thank you. Thank you, Akshat.
Thank you,
very
Akshat.
much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Bye bye. Good night. Thank you so much.